Hello, I'm Haley Worst with Klamath Film, and you just watched A Weeping in the Woods, a chilling horror short film from the Southern Shorts category of this year's Klamath Independent Film Festival. Joining us now is the director of this film, Cailin Tamplin. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you.
So we're just going to start with kind of an open-ended question I always love to ask. What was the inspiration behind this film?
Um, I'd actually been looking for a movie where a character is introduced to a very foreign, uncomfortable area, very remote from anybody else, and there's just enough familiarity to it to relate to it. But there's little tweaks here and there that are like, why is that there? Is this normal? And I just wanted to see somebody reacting to coming into an average room with a lot of secrets.
It has a really unique aesthetic attached to it too, that you really captured that atmosphere with the lighting, and especially the sound design is something that stuck out to me.
Yeah, thank you for noticing that. So this was a movie that I did, or like a short I did right out of college, and I was just angsty and wanting to do something. So I wrote the script in like 2 days, and then I went out and was looking around for a room to shoot this in, but there were like so many different points that I needed to hit in the story, and it just wasn't going to be feasible with an existing location. So we actually built a set in the middle of the woods, and ran power out there. And one of the things, the challenging things was, we were just kind of a bunch of people that didn't really have a professional background in making short films that volunteered to do it. And none of the audio was captured on the set. It was all done in post. And Quinn Jacobus, who is just an amazing guy all around, he stepped up to the plate and just said, "You know what? What we recorded in camera was like, I'm not going to even try to equalize that and make it sound good. I'm just going to do everything from scratch." And so he did, and I'm so grateful for him. And the other person, Bryce Miller, who is actually from the Southern Oregon, Medford area, but moved down to Los Angeles and does movies. Like he did his trailer, actual movie trailer music. So he did the one for most recently Lucy in the Sky with Natalie Portman, I think it was. But a friend of a friend recommended him to me, and I just grabbed him and pulled him into this. Please help me. And so he did an amazing job on the score as well. So yeah, nailing the sound was very important to me. So yeah.
And just what a cohesive and unique soundscape too. It really complemented the chilling atmosphere of the whole short.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I gave them very loose notes. They just asked me, what movies do I want it to sound like? I'm like, probably something Paul Thomas Anderson would do, like There Will Be Blood mixed with like the soundtrack of Inherent Vice, because that soundtrack to that film is incredible. So yeah, but it was all them. Yeah.
So where did you film?
Rocky Point, which is about like a half an hour away from Klamath.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Might have to go check that out now.
Yeah. It's woods. If you need woods, there's woods.
There you go. So what are some memorable moments from the production? Any fun behind the scenes stories?
It went so much longer than we thought, which always happens. You have a tiny little moment in the script, which the script was like a page and a half, And it was all visual, like there's no dialogue in it at all. So we're like, oh, we just need to film this because we got the camera here. We're going to place it here. We're like, we're going to finish this thing in like 5 hours tops. And we started at like 7:30 at night because we needed it to be at night. And we didn't finish until around 6 a.m. or 6 a.m. So it was like just continuously filming because a lot of things were going wrong. Like the shot under the bed was the hardest one, and we kind of screwed it up a little bit. It's a little dark under the bed, but the thing was when you pan the camera from left to right, you could totally see stands of lights and everything. So as the camera is panning, people are picking up lights and standing on the bed, so you don't see any of the everybody else. But besides
little movie
that,
magic.
yeah, a little movie magic. Besides that, the scene that I was most worried about, because I have a background in animation and visual effects, or mainly animation, was the scene where he steps out to look down the row and see like a row of apartment buildings with, or not apartments, but motel rooms with that same kind of weird exit into the outdoors behind the curtain. And that shot where he looks out is all CG. And so I was really hoping to have it convincing enough. So I was glad when I saw that it was good enough.
Yeah, I never would have even guessed that was all CG. It totally just looked like completely real. Like,
yeah.
that didn't even cross my mind. I think kind of the trippy dream-like feel that it all had I think helped that all blend together. Yeah. So were most of the effects CG, or did you have some practical effects? Or
let me reel back. A lot of the particles that are floating around in the I keep on wanting to say apartment, the motel room, where CG, like motion track particles, is kind of floating around in the air. When he lifts up his shirt and there's like this like parasitic worm poking out, that was CG. Besides that, like some distortion effects is all practical. Yep.
And this kind of loops back a little bit to the inspiration, but I personally have to ask, I'm a huge Lovecraft fan. Is there any got some vibes of that? Any influence there at all?
In my free time, I always listen to like horror podcasts or audio podcasts, and there are a lot of Lovecraft, Washington Irving, like classic Gothic American stories of somebody stumbling upon some sacred evil. So yeah, probably there was mixed in the full. It's what it is like one short scene in a full-length script that I have written. And initially the plan was to use this as a catalyst to get funding for the full feature, which still might happen someday.
That's interesting. Are you thinking like a feature film or like a series of shorts, or?
I would love how it's written and how we had everything planned out to where we could shoot the whole movie in 2 weeks and shoot it all locally, with practical props, and it gets a lot more Lovecraftian now that I'm thinking about it. So yes, a feature prospectively.
Well, I hope you get to do that, because I really want to see it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I hope I get to do it too.
So speaking of, I guess you kind of touched on one of my questions here, is obstacles and challenges. Did like COVID and everything impact your ability to get things done, or?
No, this was last August.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, just before all that.
Good timing.
Yeah. But initially, yeah, we were going to set out to do the fundraising for the full feature um, come February of 2020, and that's when we're like just starting to see the effects of COVID happening. And I'm so glad I just was like, we just paused on this because it's not time. So
That's been the case a lot this year with a lot of the directors, just like either got it done in the nick of time or had to halt other things.
right, yeah.
So what other projects have you worked on?
Um, I'm always working on something. I'm like always 3 projects deep. Um, kind of. This is let's see if we can see it. Well, the light kind of ruins it. But this is a little statue of a pig character named Hogsley that a friend made for me because I was working on this short like pilot episode for a kids TV, kind of darkly. It's always dark with me. I don't know why. It's kind of like if you were to introduce a kid to horror, it would be, I would want it to be this way, like just scary stuff, kind of mixed, like let's see, I'm thinking of existing TV shows. Like there's one that I really loved that was called Over the Garden Wall,
Oh
and it
yeah,
kind of
that's
had
such a
like
wonderful.
oh man, yeah, but it had like just inklings of little kind of American Gothic horror sprinkled throughout it, and this was just kind of taking it that extra step where it was more committed to thrills and chills. But yeah, this one was called with Hogsley. It was called "It Came from the North Woods." So this was something that I've been inching away or chipping away at.
That sounds really neat.
Thank you.
So what's the overall impression or feeling you want an audience to get from A Weeping in the Woods?
Um, I want them by the end of it to be asking the same amount of questions as they were when they started. And what I try to do, and something that I've been really working towards with each project, and you can, if you go back and watch my earliest stuff to now, I'm glad I can say I improved. But the what I try to do is never tell somebody something outright. I don't want any hand holding in the script. I want people to see like, oh, did you see that in the background? Like somebody just poked their head out of the hallway there, and that leads to something later where if you find all the puzzle pieces, it you can kind of assemble it yourself, and in that respect becomes interactive. And especially with just kind of creepy, spooky stuff, not giving people a lot is in itself a little more spooky. So
I can see this definitely being a film that gets a really dedicated small fan base that just scrubs through every second to find
yeah,
every detail and tries to put together what's going on.
yeah. Boy, yeah. Well, too bad this interview is after the Weeping in the Woods because I was going to say, look in the background sometimes. You might see something. But
Well, it's going to be available to rewatch online all weekend. So
yeah, oh,
to the
cool.
audience, go back and rewatch it. See what new things you can find each time.
Yeah, definitely.
So that wraps up the questions that I have. Do you have any other final thoughts you'd like to share?
Um, if you are going to make short film and you live in Southern Oregon, please don't let all of this nasty stuff that's going around the world socially or COVID wise affect it. And if you need help, I'm happy to help. So I'd love to see people still create things. So that'd be my message.
That's good advice. I like that.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you so much. A Weeping in the Woods, as I said, will be available to watch online all weekend, and it will also be playing at the Ross Raglan Theater on Sunday, September 20th at the 8th Annual Klamath Independent Film Festival.